And our talk of the town today here on AM 1390 KRFO. Darren Reed from the Safe and Drug Free Coalition stops by again, second time this month, but just to give us an update. As last time you were in, you mentioned the fact that you're kind of in a hiatus as far as funding until what, like October or so?
That is correct. We are hoping in October we will receive funding from the federal funding source that we get, SAMHSA, and that would be funding for years 6 through 10.
Okay, and again, if folks are interested in helping out, there's a way where they can contribute should they choose.
Absolutely, and we would love any and all help that people in our community can give, whether it's through their donation or sharing the information with their friends and network and family so that they know as well. We know that addiction touches lives all over the country and definitely here in Steele County. We know that a lot of youth have received help. We know that our coalition has helped people stay away from drugs and alcohol through the education, the advocacy, and the outreach. So those are the people that we're hoping to reach and say, hey, we need a little bit of help in order to keep this activity going throughout the year. So again, we're looking at about a 5-month period where we're really looking for that funding and hoping the community can help us out with that.
And it's basically, you just go to your Facebook page?
That's one way. Our Facebook page does have the direct link to the GoFundMe campaign, but otherwise you can also just, if you went to GoFundMe, you can look us up at Steele County Safe and Drug Free. Pretty simple, just like you would find us on Facebook, and you would find it there as well. But we do have a link on our website and on Facebook as well.
Okay. You mentioned before we went on the air, April is Alcohol Awareness Month. Want to talk a little on that?
Yes, that is correct. Every year is April Alcohol Awareness Month, and one of the things that the National Council on Alcohol and Drug Dependency is trying to push with this is to just raise that awareness of what alcohol does, its entire reach. And people often forget, or maybe they don't think about how dangerous alcohol really is. We often think about heroin, meth, cocaine, and opioids we hear about in the news all the time about the deaths from those. And that is something we definitely need to address. I'm not trying to diminish that. But when you think about it, alcohol will kill more than all of those people. And that's something that we don't always talk about. Alcohol is normal in our society. It's legal for those that are 21 or older. But we want our young people to know that alcohol can be just as dangerous as any of those other substances. Again, it's because of that societal norms. We believe alcohol is normal. It's part of family traditions, community traditions, and for many people, they do drink responsibly and socially, so people don't think there's a problem with that. But where the problem does start is some people will have that problem and they can't shut it off, and alcoholism will take over their life until they've either hurt themselves or others. And we just want our youth to know about these ahead of time. We want to delay that onset of first use. Science and research have proven that those that have their first experiment with alcohol or drugs at age 14 or younger are at least 7 times more likely to be addicts in the future.
Any guess why that would be? Just because? Any guess why?
Yeah, I think I know the scientific reason, and it's probably a little bit above my head, especially if I'm not reading it off a sheet.
Okay.
But I can kind of give an explanation, and it has something to do with our brain chemistry. Our brains are still developing until mid-20s. Some people say 25 or 28. So that adolescent brain is still developing. So anytime you introduce those chemicals, it's going to change the way things function in our heads, and we're more likely to continue it and abuse it. And the more you abuse it, the more likely you are to develop addiction. The other issue is when you talk about those young kids, like 11, 12, 13 years old, their future beyond high school, perhaps college, or if they're not thinking about college, is incomprehensible to them. It's forever. Kids don't think that far out. They're thinking the now, the immediate. I want immediate satisfaction. I'll use me for an example. As you know from times we've talked, I'm in long-term recovery. I had my first drink at age 11. When I was that young, the future, it didn't matter what kind of consequence alcohol could do to my future, because I wasn't mentally able to process all of that. So let's just say that a person doesn't have a drink of alcohol until they're even 17. Now, we don't want them, of course, to do that then. That's still illegal. But let's just say they have their first one at 17. At that point, they are still so much less likely to have problems, because at that age, they've started to probably have some plans in their life, some goals, whether it's to join the military or go to college or do whatever. And so they know that using alcohol or drugs will interfere with it. So even if they try it, they still have those goals. But for me, when I started at such a young age, by the time I was 16 or 17, I was already addicted. So I wasn't able to process future goals because I didn't care, because alcohol dominated my life. So again, I believe a lot of people that fall in that age range problem, it's because of where their mind is at that point.
That does make good sense. I'm thinking back, like 4 years of high school, that's like, God, forever. But of course now 4 years is poof like that. What if today Darren could go back to 17-year-old Darren? Would there have been anything today you could say to that 17-year-old Darren that would have straightened him out?
That's a great question. I've often asked myself that. I
Yeah.
get asked it a lot, actually, especially since I'm in prevention now. Is there something that would have changed me? Really, for me, it would have probably been knowing what the future could be, that what actually addiction would look like, not just to my body. And I think back, that had been in the 80s. I think if I remember right, that was back when Nancy Reagan was just say no. Everything was scare tactics, and what we did hear about it was health. And I can remember back then, I just was not concerned at all about what it could do to my body. Had I learned more about the family problems, the social problems, the criminal problems for driving while intoxicated, the financial problems, what it would do to my credit, how it could affect every aspect of my life, I might have thought of that a little bit more.
Okay.
And ultimately, though, one of the other things would have been, and I find this when I talk to kids in school, one of the most powerful messages that they get when they do tell me is that piece about abusing alcohol. We know that addiction happens in 4 stages. The first one is experimentation. Second one is regular use. And the third one, which I think is the most critical stage, is abusing alcohol or drugs. And this is where you're doing it, even though there's negative consequences, you're still using it. And you're using it more and more despite these negative consequences. But you're not fully chemically dependent yet. You're just in that abusing stage. So at that point, that's when people need to look at it and say, okay, if you're having these type of consequences and you want to stop but you can't yet, that's a good time to say, okay, I may be having some problems down the road. And at that point, I still don't know if that would have changed it, because I was set in my ways. I honestly believe the only chance I would have had to avoid that would have never to start under that age of 14, and even younger. I mean, I truly believe that for some people, their only chance is not to start. I'm sure you've heard me talk about recovery in here before, and we talk about how recovery works. It's great, and I'm evidence of that, and so many others are evidence of that. But the problem is that not everyone will get that chance for recovery. Some people will die due to their use, or will be permanently incarcerated. I could have been incarcerated all the way back as far as 17 for things like I was doing, driving under the influence.
Okay.
So for me, the only way to completely prevent that would have been to not start in the first place.
And that's one of the main things that the Safe and Drug Free Coalition is shooting for, is don't even start. What are you doing? Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We want that message out there to all of our youth. Our mission is we envision a community where our youth are empowered to choose a chemical-free lifestyle. And we believe that if they do that, they're going to have a healthy lifestyle in whatever they choose to do, whether it's to pursue their college dreams or whatever their after school is, their plans are. But if they're addicted to a drug or alcohol, they're not going to be able to pursue any of those dreams until that's fixed. So again, our goal is to make sure that they have the tools to stay that way. And part of that is through the programming that we do, the curriculum in the schools, the outreach, the media messages, being out in the community, our youth advisory work, Life of an Athlete, these programs that we have implemented to help spread that message. And that's what we need the continuation of funds for, so that we can continue that message and not lose that positive momentum.
And again, for those who would choose to offer or help out, what's the procedure to help out, offer money?
Yes, absolutely. There's 3 ways you can get involved. You can contact us directly. You can call us at our office, 507-455-1180, and you can talk to us there. You can mail us a check. But if you want to do it the electronic way, the website way, you can visit our website. You can go to us on Facebook, which is Steele County Safe and Drug Free Coalition, which has the GoFundMe link, or you can go there directly. You can also get involved by spreading that message. So not only, if you can donate $5, $10, $20, every dollar counts. If you can do that, great. But then please share it on your Facebook page, or if you're a person that does Twitter, or if you don't do any of those, but talk to the people in your office, because there are probably people sitting next to everyone right now that have faced addiction somewhere, and they might find that this is something important to them as well.
Okay. Darren Reed from the Steele County Safe and Drug Free Coalition, our guest today on Talk of the Town here on AM 1390.